The massive view screen in the United Terran Council chamber showed Earth as it appeared from orbit, a blue jewel wrapped in swirling white clouds. Admiral Victoria Harlow stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her gray uniform crisp and perfect. She took a deep breath as the council members settled into their seats. "The vote is final," said Council President Mason. "Project Exodus will begin immediately." Victoria nodded. After 15 years of secret planning, humanity had made its choice. They would leave the Milky Way galaxy entirely. Outside the council tower in New Geneva, crowds gathered as news spread across Earth and its colonies. Some cheered, some wept, but all knew this moment would change everything. Humanity, after 3 centuries of uneasy relations with alien civilizations, was departing. In his laboratory beneath the Martian surface, Chief Scientist Alan Prescott reviewed the final calculations for the 1000th time. The fleet of 200 generation ships would carry 40 million humans to Andromeda. The journey would take centuries, even with their advanced engines. "Are we really doing this?" asked his assistant, Lori. Alan looked up from his screens. "We don't have a choice anymore." He pulled up a classified file on his terminal. It showed something massive moving toward the Milky Way from intergalactic space, something the Galactic Council's other species either didn't know about or were ignoring. On Centaurus Prime, the seat of the Galactic Council, news of humanity's decision created chaos. Representatives from 46 alien civilizations argued loudly in the Grand Chamber. "Let them go," shouted the ambassador from the insectoid Vril Collective. "Humans are unpredictable and dangerous." The blue-skinned Ellerin delegate rose slowly. "Without humans, who will create new technologies? Who will take risks? Our civilizations have grown stagnant while humans push boundaries." In orbit around Jupiter, the first-generation ship, Harbinger, neared completion. Project manager Kate Wilson floated through its massive hydroponics section, inspecting rows of young plants that would feed thousands during the long journey. "We're behind schedule on water recycling," said her engineering chief, John Foster. "Work double shifts," Kate replied. "We launch in 6 months, ready or not." News broadcasts across Earth showed protests in major cities. Not everyone wanted to leave. Some humans had formed bonds with alien species or believed humanity should stay and face whatever was coming. In her private office, Admiral Harlow received a secure transmission from a hidden research base on Pluto. "The anomaly has accelerated," reported Dr. Greg Walsh, his face grim on the screen. "We have less time than we thought. And there's more. The subjects in isolation are showing increased abilities. It's happening faster than our models predicted." Victoria closed her eyes briefly. "Keep this contained, Greg. If the Galactic Council learns about either development, they might try to stop our departure." The Vrax Empire, humanity's oldest rival in space, called an emergency meeting of their high command. Admiral Zixtal pounded his scaled fist on the table. "Humans plan to take their quantum folding technology with them. We cannot allow this. For centuries we have waited for their guard to drop." His aide whispered, "Our agents report they're building something called a dimensional corridor to cross the void between galaxies." The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "Find out more." In her modest apartment in Armstrong City on the Moon, journalist Heather Brooks recorded her personal log. "The official story doesn't add up. Humanity doesn't run from challenges. There's something else driving Project Exodus, something the Council isn't telling us." She glanced at files smuggled to her by a source in the military. They hinted at both an external threat and something changing within humanity itself, something that frightened even the oldest species in the galaxy. As stars appeared in the lunar sky, millions of humans across the solar system looked up with mixed emotions. For 300 years, they had fought for respect among the stars, never fully trusted by older, more established species. Now they would leave it all behind. The galaxy was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen when humans departed. Some with relief, some with fear, and some with the growing suspicion that this was not an end, but a beginning. Nathaniel Carter adjusted his formal blue diplomatic uniform as he walked through the grand halls of the Galactic Council. Crystal chandeliers hung from high ceilings, casting rainbow patterns on marble floors. As humanity's final ambassador, his job grew more difficult each day. "Ambassador Carter, a moment please," called a raspy voice. Nathaniel turned to see Ambassador Zex of the Vrax Empire approaching. The tall reptilian alien scales shimmered with oily iridescence under the lights. "The Vrax Imperium demands access to human quantum folding technology before your departure," Zex said, towering over Nathaniel. "It would be unfortunate if we had to take more direct measures." Nathaniel kept his face neutral. "All technology transfers were settled in last month's agreement. I suggest you review it." The Vrax hissed softly before walking away. Threats had become common in the 3 months since humanity announced its exodus. With each passing day, alien civilizations realized how much they had relied on human innovation. In his private office overlooking the Centaurus prime capital city, Nathaniel reviewed security reports. 6 separate attempts to infiltrate human research facilities had been stopped in the past week alone. Ships from various species were gathering at the edges of human space, watching and waiting. His assistant, Peter, entered with a data tablet. "Sir, the Elloran delegation requests a private meeting. They say it's urgent and confidential." Nathaniel raised an eyebrow. The Illorans were among the gentlest species in the galaxy, known for their art and philosophy rather than political maneuvering. Later that evening, Elloran Ambassador Naya sat across from Nathaniel in a secure room. Her blue skin seemed to glow in the dim light, her large eyes full of emotion. "What I am about to ask breaks all protocols," she said, her voice musical but trembling. "A group of my people wish to join your exodus." Nathaniel nearly dropped his cup. "Join us?" "To Andromeda." "Yes. 5,000 Illorans. We have watched humans for centuries. Ambassador, your kind adapts, grows, embraces change. Our civilization has been static for millennia. Some of us believe we need to follow your path." This was unprecedented. No other species had asked to join the human departure. "I'll need to consult with the Council," Nathaniel said carefully. That night, he encrypted a message to Earth. While waiting for a response, he reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Several species had been secretly studying humans for generations. Files showed observation posts near human colonies, detailed analyses of human behavior during crises, and even biological studies. One report contained images from a hidden Vrax facility where they experimented with human DNA. Another showed the ancient Vrel had prophecies about humans dating back thousands of years before first contact. The galaxy wasn't just concerned about losing human technology. They were obsessed with humanity itself. 3 days later, Nathaniel received Earth's response. The Illorans could come. Preparations would begin immediately. As he delivered the news to Ambassador Naya, alarms blared throughout the Galactic Council building. Security feeds showed protesters from 6 different species gathering outside. Some carried signs supporting human departure, others demanding humans share all technologies before leaving. "Things will only get more tense," Nathaniel told his security chief, Frank Wells. "Double the guards at our embassy." That evening, Nathaniel stood on his balcony watching the triple moons rise over the alien city. His communication device chimed with an encrypted message from Admiral Harlow. "Dimensional corridor 60% complete. Accelerate all diplomatic withdrawals. First wave departure moved up to 30 days from now." Nathaniel frowned. Moving up the timeline suggested problems. Either the approaching threat from beyond the galaxy was getting closer, or the changes happening to humans were accelerating. In his bathroom, Nathaniel stared at his reflection in the mirror. For a brief moment, his eyes glowed with an inner light that hadn't been there a month ago. He was changing too, just like the test subjects in the Pluto facility. The real reason for humanity's departure was becoming harder to hide. Soon, the galaxy would know the truth. Humans were evolving into something new, something that broke the fundamental rules of this reality. And nothing would ever be the same again. Engineer Olivia Martinez floated in zero gravity at the edge of human space, her work suit covered in tool pockets. Through her helmet visor, she watched as massive energy coils sparked blue lightning into the emptiness between stars. The dimensional corridor was the most ambitious project humanity had ever attempted. "Power readings are unstable in Section 14, said Ryan Blackwood through the comm. Her second-in-command monitored systems from the control station nearby. "We need to balance the output." Olivia pushed herself toward the problem area. "I see it. Sending corrections now." For 3 years, her team of 200 void engineers had worked to create a pathway between galaxies. The corridor would bend space-time itself, allowing the human Exodus fleet to reach Andromeda in years instead of millions. As she worked, Olivia noticed unusual energy patterns forming. The corridor wasn't just bending space, it was affecting time around it. She had noticed this before, but told no one except Ryan. The technology was doing things they hadn't predicted. "Central Exodus Command is asking for another progress update," Ryan said. "Tell them 87% complete," Olivia replied. "We'll be ready for the first ships in 2 weeks." Back inside the engineering hub, a space station hidden in the shadow of a dead planet, Olivia studied the corridor data. Something wasn't right. The energy signatures showed tiny fluctuations that shouldn't be there. "I think we've been compromised," she told Ryan when they were alone in her office. "Look at these patterns." Ryan frowned at the screens. "This looks like someone's been making small adjustments to our calibrations." "Exactly. And only 15 people have that level of access." They spent the next day checking security logs. Late that night, Ryan burst into Olivia's quarters, his face pale. "I found it. Someone's been accessing the system using Mai Wang's credentials, but Mai was on Earth when the access occurred." "Sabotage," Olivia said quietly. "But who?" Security footage revealed nothing unusual, but a deep scan of the station's communication systems showed traces of encrypted messages sent to coordinates near Vrak's territory. "We need to tell Command," Ryan said. Olivia shook her head. "Not yet. If we report this, they'll shut us down for a security sweep. That would delay the Exodus by months." "But if the corridor is compromised?" "We'll fix it ourselves," Olivia interrupted, quietly. That night, Olivia worked alone in her lab. If the Vraks or another species was trying to sabotage the corridor, they wanted one of two things: to prevent humanity's departure or to steal the technology. Either way, she had a solution. For the next week, she secretly modified the corridor's key systems. She built in a failsafe that would allow only registered human ships to pass through. Any other vessel attempting to use the corridor would be redirected somewhere else. She told no one about these changes, not even Ryan. The fewer people who knew, the safer the plan. 3 days before the first Exodus ships were scheduled to arrive, alarms blared throughout the station. Ryan ran into the control room, his eyes wide. 6 Vrax warships just appeared at the edge of the system. Outside the station, the dimensional corridor pulsed with energy. On the screens, the Vrax ships approached slowly, their weapons powered but not firing. "They're not here to attack," Olivia realized. "They're here to watch, to gather data on how the corridor works." A communication came through from the lead Vrax ship. "Human Station, this is Commander Zextal. We are conducting exercises in this sector. Continue your operations." Olivia and Ryan exchanged looks. The Vraks couldn't interfere openly without starting a war, but their presence confirmed Olivia's suspicions. That evening, she made final adjustments to her secret modifications. As she worked, she noticed something strange happening to her hands. For just a moment, they seemed to phase through the solid metal of the console. She pulled back, startled. It was happening to her too, just like the reports she'd heard whispered about. Humans were changing, evolving into something new. Now she understood why the Exodus couldn't wait. It wasn't just about the approaching threat from beyond the galaxy. It was about what humanity was becoming, and what the rest of the galaxy would do when they found out. Dr. Gregory Walsh studied the floating holographic displays in his lab on Pluto Research Station. The images showed human DNA strands, but they were changing in ways that defied conventional science. New structures were forming, structures that shouldn't be possible. Greg ran his hand through his graying hair. For 10 years, he had led the xenobiology team studying the changes in human biology. What began as rare cases had become widespread. Nearly 30% of the human population now showed signs of the change. "Computer, show me Subject 37's latest results," he said. A new display appeared, showing a woman moving small objects without touching them. In another test, she seemed to phase through a solid wall for just a moment. The intercom chimed. "Dr. Walsh, there's been a security breach in Sector 8, said the station's eye. Greg hurried through the cold corridors of the station to find security officers surrounding a young woman. She wore a maintenance uniform, but her ID badge was fake. "We caught her accessing restricted files," said the security chief. The woman looked up defiantly. "People have a right to know what's happening to them." Greg recognized her from personnel files. "Mira Desai, you work for World News Network." "Used to," she replied. "They won't report on the real reason for the exodus." "No one will." Greg dismissed the security team. "Leave us. I'll handle this." When they were alone, he studied the journalist. "How did you get past our security?" Mira smiled slightly. "Maybe I'm changing too." Greg's eyes widened. He led her to his private office and sealed the door. "What do you know?" he asked. "I know humans are evolving, gaining abilities that break the laws of physics. I know that's the real reason for the exodus. The Galactic Council fears what we're becoming." Greg sighed and brought up classified images on his screen. They showed ancient Vrel texts with illustrations of beings that looked like humans but surrounded by energy. The translation read, "When humans depart, reality itself will be reforged." "The Vrel have known for thousands of years," Greg explained. "Their oldest prophecies speak of human evolution. They call it the Great Transformation." "And the threat from beyond the galaxy?" Mira asked. "That's real too. Our long-range sensors detected it 15 years ago. But the Council species ignored our warnings. Some even seemed to welcome it." Greg showed her another image. A vast darkness moving between galaxies, consuming stars. "We think it's drawn to us, to what we're becoming. The older species may have seen this before." Mira absorbed this information. "So we're running." "Not running. Preparing. Admiral Harlow believes we need space and time away from the other species to complete our evolution. Whatever we're becoming, it scares them. They might try to stop us if they understood the full scope." An alert flashed on Greg's monitor. A Galactic Council ship was approaching Pluto. "They're doing an inspection tour," Greg said grimly. "They suspect something." "What will you do with me?" Mira asked. Greg considered her for a long moment. "Help me. The public versions of our research have been heavily edited. People deserve to know what's happening to them before they leave." Over the next few days, Greg and Mira worked together, preparing information packages that would be released once the first Exodus ships departed. As they worked, Greg noticed Mira occasionally moving objects without touching them. She was definitely changing. One night, as they reviewed files, Greg showed her the most classified report. "This is what terrifies the Council species the most," he said. The report described how changing humans were beginning to affect reality around them. Space, time, and matter responded to their thoughts. In isolated cases, humans had created small objects out of nothing. "We're becoming like gods," Mira whispered. "Perhaps," Greg replied. "Or perhaps we're simply becoming what humans were always meant to be." The station shook slightly as the Galactic Council inspection ship docked. Time was running out. "Whatever we're becoming," Greg said, "we can't let them stop us now. The Exodus isn't just our salvation. It might be the galaxy's as well. When that darkness arrives, they'll need what we're becoming." Mira nodded, understanding at last the true weight of humanity's departure and why the galaxy held its breath in anticipation. Captain Eliza Winters stood on the bridge of the Harbinger, the massive ship that would lead humanity's exodus. Through the viewport, she watched as thousands of smaller vessels moved into formation. The day of departure had arrived. "All systems are green," reported her first officer, Paul Garcia. "The first wave is ready." Eliza nodded, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. 1 million humans would leave today in the first wave. The rest would follow over the next month. "Open a channel to all Exodus vessels," she ordered. When the communication link was active, she spoke clearly. "This is Captain Winters. Our journey begins now. For 3 centuries, humanity has lived among the stars of this galaxy. Today, we set course for a new home. May we carry the best of Earth with us to Andromeda." Across the galaxy, the departure dominated all news. On the Galactic Council's central world, markets crashed as economies adjusted to humanity's absence. Religious groups from a dozen species gathered in temples to pray or celebrate. Ambassador Nathaniel Carter watched the coverage from his office as he prepared final documents. Soon, he too would leave on one of the last ships. A message alert flashed on his screen. An emergency session of the council had been called. When Nathaniel arrived at the council chamber, representatives from all major species were arguing loudly. "We must stop them," shouted the Vrax ambassador. "They take critical technologies that belong to all sentient beings." The ancient Vrel representative rose slowly, silencing the room. "It was foretold. When humans depart, the cycle continues. We cannot interfere." The council leader called for order. "A vote has been proposed. Shall we take military action to prevent the human exodus?" On Mars Colony, Security Chief Daniel Brooks faced a different crisis. Riots had broken out in 3 domes as some humans announced they would stay behind. "We belong here," shouted a leader of the Remainers as Daniel's officers formed a line between the opposing groups. "The Salt System is our home. We won't abandon it." Daniel tried to maintain order, but his heart was torn. His sister had chosen to stay while he and his parents would leave on the 3rd wave. "Everyone has the right to choose," he told his officers. "Protect both sides equally." In orbit above Earth, the first wave of ships approached the dimensional corridor. Engineer Olivia Martinez watched from her station, monitoring the corridor's energy levels. "First ships entering in 3 minutes," she reported to Admiral Harlow. Victoria Harlow stood in Central Exodus Command, surrounded by screens showing every aspect of the departure. Any sign of interference. 6 alien vessels observing from the perimeter, but they're keeping their distance, reported the security officer. As the Harbinger approached the corridor entrance, Captain Winters felt a strange sensation. For a moment, she could sense every person on every ship, as if they were all connected. "Energy spike in the corridor," called Olivia from her station. The massive structure of energy and folded spacetime pulsed with blue light as the first ships entered. The universe seemed to hold its breath as humanity began its journey. Then something unexpected happened. As the first ships passed through, gravitational waves rippled outward across space. On planets throughout human territory, tides suddenly changed. Small earthquakes shook colonies. The fabric of space itself seemed to react to humanity's departure. In her quarters on the Harbinger, Dr. Linda Evans felt the ship shudder as it entered the corridor. Outside her window, reality bent and twisted. Colors she had never seen before flashed in the void. Then her hands began to glow with the same strange light. Many passengers reported similar experiences as they crossed the threshold between galaxies. On Earth, millions watched the night sky as strange lights appeared where the Exodus fleet had been. Those who had chosen to remain felt a mix of loss and determination. In the Galactic Council chamber, the vote on military action was interrupted when reports of the gravitational anomalies came in. The Vrel representative smiled mysteriously. "It begins," the ancient alien whispered. "The humans are not just leaving. they are becoming. As the last ships of the first wave entered the corridor, the ripples in space-time grew stronger. The galaxy that had feared and respected humans in equal measure now faced an uncertain future without them. But all who watched knew one thing for certain: the universe would never be the same again. 5 years had passed since the human exodus. On Alpha Centauri colony, Samantha Powell stood on the roof of a makeshift shelter, watching alien ships circle in the distance. The Remainers had expected some challenges, but not this level of hostility. "They're scanning us again," said Eric Bennett, her second in command. "Third time this week." Samantha nodded grimly. "They still can't believe we chose to stay behind." 15,000 humans had refused to join the exodus, spreading across several colonies. At first, the other species had simply watched them. Then came trade restrictions, then outright blockades. Former allies turned cold, treating the Remainers like they carried a disease. In her office below, Samantha reviewed their dwindling supplies. Without Earth technology, they had been forced to adapt. She picked up a farming tool created from scrap metal and modified alien parts. "Humans have always been good at making do," she said to herself. A young messenger burst in. "Miss Powell, the Elleran refugees need help. Vrak's ships are demanding we turn them over." Samantha hurried to the north edge of the settlement where a small community of Ellerans lived. Nearly 100 of the blue-skinned aliens had missed the Exodus ships carrying their kind. Now they faced persecution from other species who viewed them as traitors for siding with humans. "We stand together," Samantha told the frightened Ellerans. "No one gets handed over." She ordered defense teams to their positions. The colony's shields were failing, but humans had built hidden weapon systems from salvaged parts. The Vraks would find them harder to conquer than expected. As night fell, an unexpected message came through their communication system. It wasn't from the Vraks or any known species. The signal originated from the direction of the dimensional corridor. "Playing now," said the communications officer. The message was garbled, filled with static, but a few words came through clearly. "Evolution. Complete. Returning." Samantha replayed it several times. Could it be from the Exodus fleet? "Impossible," Eric said. They'd still be mid-journey to Andromeda. But something about the message gave Samantha hope. The Exodus wasn't supposed to be one way. Admiral Harlow had hinted that humans might return once they had changed enough to face the approaching threat. On the Vrak's homeworld, Supreme Commander Zixtal reviewed reports from his science division. They had successfully reverse-engineered some human technology from abandoned outposts. Their new warships now used modified versions of human quantum drives. "Begin the expansion," he ordered his generals. "Claim all former human territories before the other species realize what we have." The Vrak's empire had grown aggressive in the power vacuum left by humanity's departure. Already they had taken 3 systems that once belonged to Earth. But their scientists had discovered something troubling. The dimensional corridor the humans had built was becoming unstable. Energy readings showed fluctuations that grew stronger each month. "What does it mean?" demanded Zixtal. "Unknown, Supreme Commander," answered his chief scientist. But the corridor was not meant to remain open this long. It should have collapsed after the last Exodus ship. On the former Earth colony of New Eden, a mixed group of human Remainers and Elleran refugees worked together in underground laboratories. Unlike Samantha's group, they weren't just surviving. They were continuing the research that Dr. Gregory Walsh had begun. Leading them was Kira Mason, once Walsh's assistant. She studied data from sensors pointed toward the dimensional corridor. "The readings are off the charts," she told her team. "Something is happening inside the corridor. It's like space and time are being rewritten." One of the Elorans pointed to a new data stream. "Look at this energy pattern. It matches the ancient texts about human evolution." Kira nodded. The Exodus wasn't just about leaving. It was about creating a safe space for humanity to complete its transformation. That night, people across the galaxy reported strange dreams. Many saw visions of humans returning, but changed, evolved into something beyond physical form. The Galactic Council, fractured since humanity's departure, called an emergency session. Species that once worked together now argued constantly, vying for power in the new order. But as they bickered, no one noticed the subtle changes at the edge of the galaxy, where the dimensional corridor pulsed with new energy, and where the darkness from beyond was drawing ever closer. 20 years after humanity's exodus, the galaxy was unrecognizable. The once unified Galactic Council had splintered into 3 competing alliances. The Vrax Empire now controlled nearly a third of the former human territories. War loomed on the horizon. In a hidden research station orbiting a brown dwarf star, physicist Lucas Hammond adjusted his equipment. As the son of human remainers, he had grown up hearing stories about the Exodus. Now he dedicated his life to understanding what had really happened. "Energy spike detected," announced the station's computer. Same pattern as yesterday. Lucas studied the readings with excitement. For months, he had detected strange energy signatures coming from the dimensional corridor. The massive structure should have collapsed years ago, but instead, it was becoming more active. "What are you trying to tell us?" he whispered to the screen. The door slid open as Nira entered the lab. The young Elloran scientist had become Lucas's research partner over the past 5 years. Her people's ancient knowledge of space-time theory complemented his human intuition. "The new readings came in," she said, her blue skin glowing softly in the dim light. "Look at this pattern." Together, they analyzed the data. The dimensional corridor wasn't just stable, it was expanding. New branches were forming, reaching out like fingers through space. "This isn't what it was designed to do," Lucas said. "Engineer Martinez created it as a one-way path to Andromeda." "Unless," Nira hesitated, "what if it wasn't just about traveling to another galaxy? What if the corridor connected multiple realities?" Lucas froze. His mother had once told him a rumor about the true nature of human evolution, that humans were developing the ability to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "We need to send a probe," he decided. Their small research ship approached the edge of the corridor carefully. No vessel had entered it since the last Exodus ship 20 years earlier. The swirling energy looked different now. More colors, more patterns, as if the corridor had grown more complex. As they prepared to launch the probe, a message came through on an emergency channel. It was from Samantha Powell, now leader of the largest Remainer colony. "All research stations, we have confirmed reports. The darkness has reached the outer systems. Terran 4 has gone silent. Prepare for evacuation to safe zones." Lucas and Nira exchanged worried looks. The threat that humanity had fled from had finally arrived. The vast, star-consuming darkness that had approached from beyond the galaxy was here. "We're out of time," Lucas said. They launched the probe into the corridor. Its sensors sent back data for 3 minutes before contact was lost. But what they saw in those 3 minutes changed everything. "These readings can't be right," Nira whispered. The probe had detected thousands of energy signatures similar to human life forms, but evolved, transformed. The Exodus fleet hadn't just traveled to Andromeda. They had been changed by the journey itself. "They've been watching us," Lucas realized. "All this time, they've been in the dimensional shadows." A new alert sounded. A Vrax battle fleet was approaching, fleeing from the advancing darkness. Behind them, stars were disappearing one by one as the unknown force consumed them. Lucas made a decision. Using the data from the probe, he began modifying the corridor's entry point. "What are you doing?" Nira asked. "Sending a message. If I'm right, they'll receive it instantly, regardless of distance." He programmed a simple distress call, then aimed it through a specific frequency in the corridor, a frequency that matched the evolved human energy signatures. As the message dispatched, the corridor pulsed with blue light. For a moment, the entire structure seemed to become solid, then transparent, then something in between. On screens across the galaxy, the same image appeared spontaneously, a symbol no one recognized except the human remainers. It was the emblem of Admiral Harlow's original Exodus mission. "They're coming back," Lucas whispered. The Vrax fleet arrived, weapons ready. Behind them, the darkness approached, hungry and unstoppable. But Lucas smiled. He knew something the Vrax didn't. The humans hadn't abandoned the galaxy. They had evolved beyond it to prepare for this moment. And now, they were returning. 50 years after humanity's departure, the darkness had consumed a quarter of the Milky Way. Entire civilizations had fallen. The remaining species fought among themselves even as their worlds disappeared one by one. On the last stronghold of the Galactic Council, representatives from 12 surviving species gathered in emergency session. "We cannot stop it," admitted the Vrel Elder, her ancient voice trembling. "Our weapons pass through it like air." The Vrax commander pounded the table. "Then we die fighting. Better than cowering in fear." Suddenly, the chamber's lights flickered. A strange energy wave passed through the room. Outside, in the space above the planet, a massive dimensional rift opened. Ships emerged from the rift, unlike any vessels seen before. They glowed with inner light and moved in ways that defied physics. Their hulls seemed both solid and fluid, changing shape as needed. "Scan them," ordered the council leader. "Impossible," replied the technician. "Our sensors can't understand what they're seeing." A communication request came through on all channels. When accepted, a human woman appeared on the screens. She wore a simple white uniform with an insignia showing Earth surrounded by stars. "I am Commander Diana Harlow, granddaughter of Admiral Victoria Harlow. We have returned." The council chamber erupted in chaos. Humans, coming back after 50 years. The Vrax representative reached for his weapon, but found he couldn't move his arm. "We mean no harm," Diana continued, "but we will not allow interference. The darkness you face cannot be fought with conventional weapons. That is why we left, to evolve into what was needed to stop it." On the human Remainer colony, Lucas Hammond, now an old man, watched the arrival with tears in his eyes. Beside him stood Nira and Samantha Powell, their faces reflecting hope for the first time in decades. "They really came back," Samantha whispered. The transformed human fleet positioned itself between the darkness and the remaining inhabited systems. Close up, observers noted that the ship's crews appeared almost transparent, glowing with inner light. They had changed beyond recognition, yet their voices, their names, remained human. Diana Harlow addressed the galaxy again. "What you are witnessing is not an invasion. It is a fulfillment. Humans were never just another species. We were evolving towards something else, something the universe needed." She explained how the dimensional corridor had accelerated human evolution. In the space between galaxies, where time flowed differently, 50 years for the galaxy had been thousands of years for the humans. They had completed their transformation, becoming beings who existed across multiple dimensions simultaneously. "The darkness is not a natural phenomenon," Diana revealed. "It is an ancient predator that feeds on entire galaxies. It has done this before, many times. The oldest species among you knew this, but said nothing." The Vrel Elder lowered her head in shame. The transformed human fleet engaged the darkness at the edge of Vrax space. From observation points, aliens watched in awe as the human vessels phased in and out of reality. Energy beams of impossible colors struck the darkness, which recoiled for the first time. On planets across the galaxy, humans who had remained behind began to glow with the same light as their returning kin. The transformation had been slower for them, but it had continued nonetheless. Lucas felt his body changing, becoming lighter. Nira watched in amazement as he began to shimmer with energy. "It was always inside us," he said. "The potential to transcend." The battle raged across multiple dimensions. The darkness fought back, consuming several human ships. But for every vessel lost, 2 more emerged from the rift. In the council chamber, Diana Harlow appeared in person, or rather, her evolved form did, glowing and partially transparent. "We offer you a choice," she told the assembled representatives. Join us in the fight, or seek shelter while we battle for the galaxy's survival." The Vrak's commander stood. "Why return at all? Why save those who feared you?" Diana smiled. "Because that's what humans do. We protect our home, even when it rejects us. The galaxy may have held its breath when we left, but now it can breathe again," finished the Vrel elder. "The cycle is complete. Humans never truly departed. They merely transformed to become what we all needed." Outside, the battle against darkness continued as humanity fought for the galaxy that had once feared them, now as its guardians and protectors.